Good morning, everyone, and welcome to today's focus for Monday, June the 5th, 2023 at 9:51 a.m. Central Time. Today's focus, an eye for an eye will make the whole world blind. An eye for an eye will make the whole world blind. Now, that's not specifically what I want you to focus on, but I thought it was a good way to start this episode of the Today's Focus podcast. And here's the reason why. If we live in a world where everyone is basically fighting one another and each person tries to go after them and then you go after them and, an eye for an eye, you go after them and then they're going to come after you and you're going to retaliate and everyone's just going after each other, the end results are never going to be good. So if we can take the concept an eye for an eye, if everyone goes for an eye, well, everyone's just going to end up blind. It's not going to work out very well. It's going to be a horrible, horrible situation. It's just not going to be a good thing. Take that to the culture in which we live in 2023, where everyone seems to be running around thinking that, oh, no, I don't like that. I want to ban it. I want to censor it. I want to cancel it. I want to get rid of this. I want to get rid of that. I want that removed. I want that removed. I want that removed. Well, if everyone does that, you're going to look around and this is what's going to happen. Well, we may not all end up blind, but guess what? I guess there's not going to be a store for anyone, right? Because if you go after, you're going to ban those businesses and then they ban your businesses, then who's going to have a business left? If you ban their books, they're going to ban your books. So you're going to have libraries with no books. You're going to have bookstores with no books. You're going to have, everything is just going to be, where does it end? If you're going to cancel that, then they're going to cancel this. And then, at some point you look around and you've canceled everything. You've silenced everyone, including yourself. See, an eye for an eye leaves everyone blind. Well, if you boycott and they boycott, and if you ban and they ban, and you censor and they censor, then we're going to look around and what's going to be left? I say this all the time. The rights that you take away from others are rights you are taking away from yourself. The rights you demand for yourself are the rights you must give to others. If you try to take away someone else's rights, at some way, shape, or form, you're only taking away your own rights. And it's like nobody is paying any attention to this in 2023. Everyone just wants to yell and scream and ban and fight and like, oh, you come after our stuff, we'll come after your stuff. Oh, you want to silence us? We'll silence you. And so we're going to look around and everyone is going to be blind. It's just, I don't know how to wake anyone up out of this madness that we find ourselves. We had, let's go after Bud Light. Now let's go after Target. Now let's go after Kohl's. Let's go after Disney. Now, let's go after Chick-fil-A. No, let's go after The Chosen. Where does it stop? At some point, who gets to decide how everyone else lives? Who gets to impose their morality on everyone else? I am more for the idea everyone having freedom to choose. That doesn't mean everyone's going to choose the right thing. It doesn't mean everyone's going to be doing the right thing. It doesn't mean that I have to say that what they're doing is right. But if I give them freedom, I am defending my own freedom. The freedoms I defend are my own freedoms that I'm protecting. The freedoms I deny are my own freedoms I'm ultimately sacrificing. But it's hard to get people to think. But look at what has happened. Look at what has happened. This is absolutely crazy, but just look at what has happened, okay? So, we know that there's been a big push if you've seen the videos from school board meetings where people are yelling and screaming, going, this book should not be in the library, even though if you usually do a little research, the book has only, like there was one school board meeting where everyone was yelling and screaming. There were 2 books that everyone wanted removed, and you go and looked, and like one of those books, the last time it had been checked out was 10 years ago, and the other one had never been checked out. And there were parents up there, oh, we got to get rid of these books. They're going to destroy the kids. And they're like, nobody has checked these books out. And now guess what happened? Well, after that, then everyone wanted to read the book and everyone wanted to check out the book. See, that's exactly what this always backfires. But it's just ridiculous how this whole thing has played out. Well, listen to this. This is from medium.com. Dan Foster is the author. All right, here we go. Bible banned in schools as book censorship backfires big time. See, this is how it works. You go after their books, they're going to come after your books. An eye for an eye, everyone ends up blind. All right, so what happened? Well, here we go. How Christian parents ignited a book banning revolution only to face the fallout. The recent decision to ban the Bible from elementary and middle schools in Utah has sparked controversy and debate. Those who support the decision argue that the Bible contains grotesque, violence, and pornographic material, making its presence unsuitable for young students. Meanwhile, critics of the decision predictably claim that removing the Bible from school infringes upon religious freedom and limits access to important cultural and historical texts. Now, it always, that's always great. See, when you want to get rid of something, it's pornographic, it's violence, it's horrible. And then when someone wants to get rid of the Bible, they're like, it's violent, it's grotesque. Everyone wants to always, I just don't understand why do we want to do this kind of thing? I want people to have freedom. I want people to have the rights to look. I may not like the book, but I want you to have the freedom to read the book. I may not like what you're doing, but I want you to have the freedom to do it. Why? Because I want my freedoms. I want my rights. I mean, it's just crazy. People are like, we've got to get these books removed from the library. And at the same time, they're supporting the Bible. Yeah, you want your children reading the end of Judges? Do you? I mean, come on. There's some serious things going on in the Bible that a kid has to try to process, right? All right. And then here's the next paragraph here. This was always going to be the logical end of a book censorship war that was primarily instigated by Christian parents trying to so-called protect, and I'm putting so-called, protect their children from the evil leftist agenda and its apparent attempts to indoctrinate their children with horrible things like tolerance, acceptance of difference, and the values of live and let live. Now, that's from the author. Let me read it exactly as he wrote it because I was added a few phrases there. So let me read it, and I quote, a direct quote. This was always going to be the logical end of a book censorship war that was primarily instigated by Christian parents trying to protect their children from the evil leftist agenda and its apparent attempts to indoctrinate their children with horrible things like tolerance, acceptance of difference, and the value of live and let live. But now the chickens have come home to roost. This is always the logical conclusion. Just think about this logically. Okay, so let's say, for example, lost people, right? Remember, there was a day that they hated Chick-fil-A and they wanted Chick-fil-A silenced and not to be able to open stores in certain locations. They were going after Chick-fil-A and Christians were screaming, cancel culture. This is not fair. It's persecution. And then Christians are like, no, we've got to shut down Target. No, we've got to shut down Disney. Now just think logically, if everyone does this, let's say people on the left, or you can say lost people, go after things on the right, businesses on the right, Christian-owned businesses. And then everyone if everyone goes after the other business, then who's left? You're going to have like, okay, here's 2 chicken places, right? Here's the chicken place for lost people, and here's the chicken place for saved people. Here's the chicken place for conservatives. Here's the chicken place for liberals. Like, does that not just sound ridiculous to you? If the left tries to get rid of everything on the right, and everything on the right tries to get rid of everything on the left, I mean, does not everyone see, like, you talk about chasing vanity. You talk about chasing after things of no profit, to reference Jeremiah, because we spent 3 hours in the book of Jeremiah yesterday. It's just vanity of vanities, meaningless. Everyone tries to cancel the other thing. What do you do? I don't understand what you're accomplishing. Oh, okay, we got rid of Target. Woohoo! Look at us. Oh, we got rid of Kohl's. Yes, we got rid of Disney. Yay! We did it. We defeated human depravity. We saved. What did you do? What did you accomplish? Did anyone hear the gospel? Did anyone be brought to salvation? No, all you did is create a culture war that now they're going to fight back. So an eye for an eye, everyone ends up blind. Now they're going to hate you not because of Christ. They're going to hate you because you're trying to control what they say can or do, or what they can watch or not watch. Or all you're trying to do is hurt people. Nothing of value is coming from this. It's hard to ignore the hypocrisy displayed by some Christian parents who argue so vehemently for removing certain books that they deemed inappropriate, while conveniently turning a blind eye to the violence and sexual impropriety present in the very book they hold dear, the Bible. From stories of war and genocide to instances of incest and rape, the Bible doesn't shy away from controversial topics. If we're going to sanitize the classroom, shouldn't we start by acknowledging the sordid tales within our own holy book? It's puzzling to witness these Christian parents attempting to shield their children from literature that addresses real-world issues while turning a blind eye to the morally ambiguous stories found in the Bible. Take, for instance, the story of Abraham and Isaac. In this famous biblical account, Abraham is commanded by God to sacrifice his own son, Isaac. Does blind obedience to a divine command justify the potential harm of an innocent child? Now, other people read and go, oh, no, you're missing the point of the story. It doesn't matter if you're missing the point of the story. The point is these stories are there, and many people could read them and go, wait, so God technically could tell me to kill my own child, and it would be up to me to do that? Like, other people would be like, that's a messed up story. You may say, oh, you're missing the point. It's a beautiful picture of God offering his own son. I understand all the ways you could look at it. But the point is, someone could say, I'm not so sure about this story. They offer another example. How about the morally complex tale of Lot and his daughters? Seeking refuge after the destruction of Sodom and Gomorrah, Lot and his daughters find themselves in a cave. In a perplexing turn of events, the daughters get their father drunk and engage in sexual relations with him to preserve their family lineage. Consent? I don't think so. Incest and rape? By all modern definitions, yes. And we could go on. Abraham and Hagar could be another story that we could look at. The conquest of Canaan presents yet another ethical dilemma. The Old Testament contains accounts of war, conquest, and genocide. The Israelites breeze into the Middle East claiming divine guidance and a mandate to possess the land. However, these narratives involve mass killing, displacement, and destroying entire communities, men, women, and children. Awkward. And I could go on and on and on. And he didn't even look at some of the more egregious stories. They're right there. They're right there in the Bible. So obviously now people are going to be like, okay, well, if this is your criteria to ban books, the Bible fits that criteria. So the Bible has to go. So you ban their books, they ban your books. Well, where does it end? You're going to go to the library one day. I'm sorry, we have no books because everyone has banned them all. Or here are the 3 books you're allowed to read. Here are the 3 books everyone can agree on. Like, what's even the point? Just get rid of libraries. Just get rid of libraries. Just get rid of them all. In fact, let's just get rid of books. In fact, let's just burn books. Let's burn down businesses. Let's just silence and cancel everyone. And then we can all feel better because we won a battle in the culture wars. It's just ridiculous. It is so ignorant, immature, mindless behavior with no one thinking of it from a logical way of thinking. Now, I'm going to get some email. Are you saying a child should be able to read whatever, this book or that book or this book? Obviously, there's certain content that we could talk about, whether does it fit a certain age or does it not fit a certain age. I understand that. That's always been the case, right? There's certain books you have to be this age to, or even going back to the 80s, dating myself a little bit. There were certain movies you couldn't rent at the video store without a parent approval. Right? You couldn't buy tickets to, now some theaters were very lax in the rules, but there were some movies you couldn't get into unless your parent bought the ticket. In some cases, they had to accompany you into the screen, to the movie. Sometimes the parent could just buy the ticket because I had it happen my parents let me watch anything. So sometimes my mom could just walk up and say, 2 tickets for this. She wasn't going in. They didn't ask any questions because she was purchasing the tickets. Sometimes they were like, no, you have to go and watch the movie with them. Depending on how it all went down. But the point is, yeah, I understand we can have some issues about, so what ages should be able to access said book? I got no problem. Like if you want to have that conversation, we want the book to be available, but only certain ages. So what makes this book age appropriate to which age? Now, just remember, someone could come and go, I don't think a child should be able to read the Bible until they're 14. Someone can make the same argument with the Bible. So once again, you got to take it logically. But the thing is, if the book is in the library, first of all, 99% of the time, nobody even knows the books are in the library or even cares until Christians start making an uproar and yelling and screaming. But I think the thing is you can say, well, for you to be able to check out that book, you just need your parent approval. And if the parent approves it, then you can check it out. I'm willing to have like a meaningful conversation about age restriction. But who are you to tell other people that your kids can't read that book? They can't be in the... Who are you to make that decision? If another parent wants their child to read that book, it's none of your business. They say, well, my child could find the book. Oh, I don't know. What are we going to do? What are we going to do? I don't know. It's just like, I don't understand this craziness of everyone wanting to control everyone else and silence this. I've talked even like we're gonna try to put Target out of business. Why? Because they're selling products you don't want. They're selling products you don't like. Nobody's making you buy them. Nobody's making you buy them. And most, like Target, Walmart, they usually have a book section. Look at all the different books there. There's probably things in those books that are absolutely horrific, horrible, sinful, ungodly. So why are you going to go after those stores unless they only sell books that you agree with? It's just, you walk into a store, I know it's a little bit dated, but back when they used to have, large sections of DVDs, do you think every movie in there was wonderful and great? No. So you just didn't buy them. If someone else wants them, then they should have the right to buy that. And if I don't. Like, what is the issue? Now, this is what the author continues here. Now, personally, I love the Bible. I think it's a cracking good read when it's understood in its proper context. But isn't it only fair that the suitability of the Bible for children be judged against the same criteria that Christians demand secular literature be judged? Or does the Bible get a free pass because, well, it's the Bible? I mean, why should the Bible be exempt from scrutiny while other books are subject to intense censorship? In a fair world, it isn't. So why are Christians surprised that this has happened? Why are they crying religious persecution? That's not religious persecution. This is a classic case of reaping what you sow. It was Jesus who said something like this, "For then the same way you judge others, you will be judged, and with the measure you use, it will be measured to you." Rather than living peaceably, certain Christians decide to do their level best to foist their beliefs and morals onto everyone. They engaged in an us versus them culture war. And well, in a war, the other side shoots back. One tribe tries to take ground from the other, and the other resists. Battle lines are drawn, sides are chosen, and at the end of the day, we all lose, but the Christians much more so. Why? Because in the fighting to create a safe, sanitized, Christianized world where their children will never stray from the Christian faith, Christians do not realize that they're actually tilling the soil for the seeds of doubt to grow in their children's lives. Let me explain. Christian parents may seek to place their children in a protective bubble away from the evil influences of the world, but research tells us that overprotecting parents is downright self-defeating. According to the book, You've Lost Me, spiritual and overprotectiveness is actually driving young people away from the church. The research in this book shows young adults who have left the church identify these factors as reasons for their departure. 34% said the church's tendency to demonize everything outside the church was a factor. 31% said the church ignores the problems in the real world. 27% said that Christians are afraid of popular culture, especially movies, books, music, and video games. And 18% said that they're involved in social causes that the church doesn't seem to do or say much about, like protecting the environment, LGBTQ advocacy, for example. In short, many young Christians feel overprotected. Their faith is being censored out of existence. Tucked safely away from their spiritual enclaves, millions of young believers perceive that the church has kept them fearfully and detached from the world. A world, mind you, that they are called by faith in Christ to help serve and change. Right? And so they go on and add a whole bunch of other things here that are very interesting, but beyond the scope of what I want to do for today's focus. Today's focus, I just want you to think about how crazy, what is the end game here? If everyone on one side tries to boycott that side and everyone on that side tries to boycott the other side, what is left? If you try to ban their books and they try to ban your books, what books are left? What businesses are left? What world is that? And who gets to decide whose morality can be imposed on other people? We live in a pluralistic society. We do not live in a theocracy. And even if you want to impose a theocracy, it's only good as long as your side has power. But the minute your side loses power, then the other side comes in and will try to impose their theocracy with their God and their religious laws. And if you've ever, read a book about church history, guess what happens when that happens? People start dying. Because here's what happens. If you impose your religious law, then you will start punishing other people who don't hold to your religion. And then when they come in power, they start punishing people of your religion. And usually it means the civil government then is punishing people for so-called religious crimes, and people are being killed. And that's just insanity. I don't know why any Christian in their right mind would even want to go in that direction. If you want to change the world, present the gospel, baptize, and disciple. If you want to find yourself in the middle of a culture war, ignore the gospel and try to impose your view by political force, by banning, by censorship, and be prepared for the other side to fight back. And all you're going to do is get a war. All you're going to do is end up hurting people. And all you're going to do is turn people against you, not because of your Jesus, but because of your trying to ban and impose your morality upon them. Giving someone the freedom to do that which you disagree with does not mean you are saying it's a right thing to do. You're just saying you have the right to do it. I have the right to say it's wrong. And you have the right to say that what I'm doing is wrong. Isn't that wonderful how freedom works? You have the freedom to read that book, and I have the freedom to criticize that book. I have the freedom to read this book, and you have the freedom to criticize said book. I have the freedom to publish a book criticizing your book, and you have the freedom to publish a book criticizing my book. Wow. You have the freedom to go into a store and buy whatever product you want that fits your lifestyle, and I have the freedom not to buy that product. I mean, like, I just don't understand the mentality. Like, it's just so crazy. Like, I don't get this fighting and bickering and boycotting and censorship. I don't understand it. That's the culture we currently in. And I just wanted you, like, now people are going to start banning Bibles. Bibles are going to start getting pulled. And Christians are going to scream persecution. Why? I've said it before. The Christians created cancel culture. When everyone talks about cancel culture, Christians are the ones who created it and perfected it. And now we're going to yell and scream when someone wants to do it to us. We've been trying to do it to people forever. I can go all the way back to when I first became a Christian. And the next thing you know, wait. You're trying to get rid of MTV? Oh, what is happening right now? Wait, you're trying to tell me that I should not be allowed to buy an Iron Maiden album or a Judas Priest, or I'm all dating bands of that time period, an Ozzy Osbourne. Whoa. Who are you to tell me what music I can buy? I remember, and I was a brand new Christian. I'm like, you Christians have lost your mind. Like, what are you doing? But and then in the 90s, same kind. It's always every generation has to deal with Christians trying to silence, ban, censor. And I'm sick of it. Tired of it. I'm tired. Look, I get just as irritated when people on the left were trying to stop Chick-fil-A's from being opened in an airport. I think it was in New York, wherever. They were going to, like, what? Just don't eat there. Like, why are you going after? Like, I don't understand when people on the left do it. I don't understand when people on the right do it. Now, on the left, I will say this. On the left, when they're trying to do it, or they're lost people left, whatever terminology you want to use, it makes a little bit more sense. This is their world. This is their home. This is all they have, right? So I can see them trying to create a kingdom in their own image, I guess. I guess it makes a little bit more sense to their ideology. But when Christians engage in it, it makes no sense. This is not our home. We are pilgrims. We are strangers here. We're just passing through. We are setting our focus. We are citizens of heaven. What we want to do is not so engage in a battle for this world, right? That we have people turn against us, not for the gospel that we are calling people to believe in, but because we're trying to somehow take over this world and make it so-called Christian, try to create a Christian kingdom on this world by our own force. That to me, it's detrimental to the entire gospel message. I can understand with them trying to impose it, but for us, we're like, no, look, no, this is not our home. This is all going to be destroyed. Here's what we want. We want you to believe in the Lord Jesus Christ and be saved. And then once you are saved, then we will teach you to obey what God calls us to obey. There's a new standard. Here's the morality you live as a Christian. We want you to have freedom, and all we care about is us have. That's one of the great things about America, is freedom. That freedom is the greatest thing, because within a culture of freedom, Christians then have the ability to speak, to teach, to preach, to publish. Well, if you want that freedom, you must defend other people's freedoms. I don't want to restrict anyone's freedom. As much as humanly possible. Obviously, there's always, I know freedom is never absolute. Obviously, for example, free speech doesn't mean you can stand up in a crowded theater and scream fire. I understand there's always limits. I understand that. I'm talking, we want as much freedom as possible. But an eye for an eye, the whole world will end up blind. And the culture wars. What do you end up with? In the book banning world, what do you end up with? And the going after businesses, what do you end up? I mean, what's the end game? What's the end result? What? No books for anyone to read? No actual stores for anyone to go to because we're trying to, I guess, shut them all down unless they sell only the approved products that you determine. I mean, there was a time people were calling for banning Netflix, for boycotting Netflix. So you only want a streaming service that only shows the movies you approve of? Like, what kind of nonsense is that? Well, then when the other people are like, I don't want your movies on it, so then there's no streaming service. Like, what do you want? What do you want? Why do we think that we're so arrogant that we get to determine what everyone else gets to do and buy and see and watch? There's got to be a better way. We've got to change our thinking on all of this. An eye for an eye, the whole world ends up blind. The Bible's now being banned in some school districts. Because you reap what you sow. That is your today's focus for Monday, June the 5th, 2023.